All right, everyone, welcome to week 2 of the Family Beatdown Fantasy Football League update show. Before we get into it, I owe a big apologies to Dani when I said in last week's broadcast that she earned second place in our league last year, and that, in fact, was incorrect. Dani was the champion of the Family Beatdown League last year, taking first place over Ryan's People of Color. Dawn comes in third during play last year. But yeah, Dani had a strong lead, or had a strong season last year, and even though I predicted it to go the other way, Dani's winning ways continued this week with the most lopsided win in the Family Beatdown League over yours truly. Smell this. Dani poured in 171.5 points. I only could get 88.5. It was just pathetic scoring all the way around for me. In other games, Big Blue eked past Girard Invincibles 127 to 118. Backed that pass up, dropped one to Basic White Chicks. The winning score was 112 over 107. Swamp Donkeys just a little bit better than Dawn's Rednecks, 140.5, 138.5. So just a 2-point win for Rick. But I guess 2 is as good as a million at that point. The Moist Men of the Mountain, my favorite team, 160 points over third down for what's 144.9. And in the game of the week, People of Color gets off to a good start, beating Blue and Gold 136 to 107. Taking a look quickly at our USC and Notre Dame matchup. Both teams won last week. Good games for both of them. I watched both games. The Trojans played Idaho, another tune-up game, 59-9. Not much of a contest there, but some good stats for the Trojans as they pad their record a little bit more. But things get real this weekend as Stanford comes into town for a 5 p.m. kickoff time here in the Pacific time zone, and yours truly will be at that game. So look for live cut-ins to your live local news. Probably not going to happen, but you know what I'm saying. As far as Notre Dame is concerned, they played University of Virginia. They won. What was the final there? The final was 34-27. So by a touchdown, they were able to beat UVA. But UVA had to really come from behind. Notre Dame looked strong in that game, but a huge injury for you guys with your quarterback. Just a devastating injury for that Zaire kid. Tough break. BYU comes in, Notre Dame travels to Provo to take on BYU this weekend. All right, let's take a look at week number 2 in the Fantasy Beatdown League. Smell This takes on, here we go. Smell This takes on Back That Pass Up. It's projected 119.9 in my favor, 91 for Rebecca. For me, I've got Aaron Rodgers against the Seahawks. Damn, not good. I'm gonna rue the day. You know about my Packers. You got to be able to love them unconditionally. And even though Rodgers put in 40.4 points for me, I only scored 88, so it wasn't enough. So I couldn't love Aaron Rodgers unconditionally last week. I'm sorry, Discount Double Check. I should not break my own rules. Any rate, it's going to be a quarterback matchup with Back That Pass Up because Rebecca's infatuated with those Seahawks, and she's got Russell Wilson in there in the starting nod. I also got Demaryius Thomas, who's listed as probable, Andre Johnson against the Jets, Giovanni Bernard against San Diego. T.Y. Hilton is out. I actually think he's out. They're listing him as questionable here. I heard he was out. You may want to check that, Rebecca. But Anderson against Kansas City, who's tough, and Landry against Jacksonville, who's also tough. I'm going to give the win, as I always do, to Smell This. Pick to win. That's what we do right here. All right. Taking a look at Girard Invincibles. Excuse me. That's last week's. Here we go with that Yahoo UI again. Girard Invincibles take on Swamp Donkeys. This is 121.3, 122.5 in favor of Rick. Rick has Big Ben going against the 49ers. Jeremy Maclin listed as probable. He's going against Denver. Larry Fitzgerald against the Chicago Bears. He should get at least 1,000 points there. LaShawn McCoy is listed as probable for Grandpa Stafford. There's news on him. He's playing against Minnesota. And then Adrian Peterson is playing against Detroit, so that's a good matchup for you. Grandpa's picked to win this. I'm going to give the nod to Grandpa, to the Girard Invincibles. Let's take a look now at Blood, Sweat, and Beer versus the Moist Men of the Mountain. This is 128 to 119 in Tyson's favor right now. Tyson's got Tony Romo, who's listed as probable, going against Philadelphia. Odell Beckham against Atlanta. Emmanuel Sanders against Kansas City. And Murray against Baltimore. For Blood, Sweat, and Beer, Brady against Buffalo. That's a very good matchup for you, Danny. DeAndre Hopkins is against Carolina. Golden Tate against Minnesota. DeMarco Murray against Dallas. Rashad Jennings against Atlanta. Even though it would be an upset, I'm going to give the pick to Danny. I just think she's got a really good team again this year. And let's not forget, Danny is our defending champion. There you go. All right. Looking now at Big Blue versus People of Color. This is 130 to 125 in favor of Veronica right now. Veronica's got Ryan Tannehill facing Jacksonville. Eddie Lacy against Seattle. That Green Bay matchup is going to be tough. That's obviously a rematch of last year's NFC title game up there in Seattle with all those crazy loud people. And you guys been reading anything about Amazon and the terrible work conditions? The reason I say that, I mean, Amazon's there's buildings right across the street from the Seahawks Stadium. So whenever I think Seahawks Stadiums, I always think of Amazon. But anyway, I read a story today about there's just not enough men's rooms because there's too many dudes that work in Amazon. One of the buildings is notorious for having long lines at the men's room. Found it interesting. Anyway, I digress. People of Color has Andrew Luck against the New York Giants. Marcus Golson against Tampa Bay. Hyde, I like him. I got him on my other team. He is going against Pittsburgh and projected to do 11.8. I think he goes off and has an even better game. I'm going to give the win to Ryan. And in our final game, I believe it is, boys and girls, ladies and gents, it is, let me make sure, no, Big Blue, People of Color. Did I just cover a game? I hate this Yahoo interface. Anyway, it's Basic White Chicks over third down for what? That's 120 over 109. And that is going to be Cam Newton against Houston and Julio Jones against New York Football Giants. And Randall Cobb against Seattle, who's listed as probable. Peyton Manning for Basic White Chicks. I'm south on Manning, man. He's lost it. I'm going to give the pick to Mr. Jed for third down for what? And let me see, the Rednecks versus Blue and Gold. This is Jake versus Dawn. Drew Brees for Dawn against Tampa Bay. Jackson against St. Louis. Matt Forte against Arizona Cardinals. Mark Ingram against Tampa Bay. The only one you got questionable under your tight end, Dawn, but that's a pretty good matchup. For Jake, who is in love with Matty Ryan, I think. He's got him against the New York Football Giants. Julian Edelman. Julio Edelman, new name. He goes against Buffalo. Again, favorable matchup. Jamal Charles at Denver, so that's always tough to run there. Frank Gore, who really didn't show much in the first week, is listed to do 11.4 for the Jets. I'm going to give the pick to my boy Jake. So let me just make sure that we didn't miss any games. I don't think we did. But Basic White Chicks, Big Blue versus People of Color. I think that's where I went south. Let me see. Yeah, no, I did. I picked People of Color. Ryan's got that one. All right, so that's it. That's business. That's this week. Enjoy the games, everybody. We'll see you next week. So long.